Okay. Where were we?
We were, oh man, let me think.
Talking about
You
pooping.
were, yeah, pooping. No, it was the Sundance Bar.
Oh, so that was just one more escalation, you know. And I think for somebody in that line of work, sometimes it's hard to have consequences, you know. Nobody cared. Matter of fact, I made it part of a bit of a shtick, you know, for me. Hey, Dave's drunk again! Yay! You know, so yeah. It's there are some jobs that, you know, if you're working, I don't know, driving a backhoe, maybe, and you drink and drive, all of a sudden, you know, you can't get drunk at work if you're driving a backhoe, or if you're, I don't know, whatever, million jobs that you can't get drunk on and not get caught. Mine, I was out of the closet. The bar was buying me drinks, and at least the bartender was buying me drinks. I don't know if the actual bar knew about it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So anyway, but you know, I was high on the hog, man, living the rock and roll lifestyle.
right.
So
And so what started to happen?
uh, in I started losing gigs. I would get drunk at a gig. I had a corporate party band, and uh, I would not. You don't make the best decisions. I'm a funny guy. I've done some comedy here and there, and a lot of times when I'm being the front man in the band, I'm also I'm very good at it because I'm quick on my feet and I can be funny, but uh, not so funny when you're drunk and they're talking to a corporate crowd versus a bar full of people that are already drunk, right?
Yeah.
So I started losing gigs,
Were,
etc.
were you just saying
So
inappropriate things, or what do you?
absolutely inappropriate. Like, I don't know. Let's say I don't remember the exact gig because I was drunk, but there was a corporate party planner who had hired my band, and I was the frontman, lead singer, bass player, and it was a big band, like 10 people. Had horn section and everything. It was a lot of fun. And I don't remember what it was, but it was a relative. I mean, it was a relatively conservative, and I'm all lit up, and then I'm talking about woohoo, let's all go get laid or whatever, you know. And that's that's not going to go over very well. So I
That's
started
one of
having
those.
consequences. What's that?
It's one of those things you wish you could see footage of.
Kind of do, yeah.
You know,
Um,
little cringeworthy moments. I always think about those, the ones I have, like when I thought I was being cool. I just wish I could to keep myself humble, to remember those.
yeah,
But
that's funny. Yeah, remind as a reminder, it'd be nice. But
right,
anyway, so there were consequences like that. But then again, I always just thought, well, there'll be other gigs. The hell with those guys; they don't get it,
yeah,
right? Um, but then a really interesting thing happened. My band went to we were going to go play a gig, and at this point, Midge, that friend of mine, had joined the band as a background singer. She's a very good harmonizer. And um, one night after a gig, she kissed me,
hmm,
and I thought, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever.
yeah,
Um, and it was a very pure thing. I don't know
right,
how to describe it other than that. Yes, did I lust after her? Sure, I did. But it was more than that. Something I don't know that I'd ever felt. Uh,
right.
and so we started dating, and 6 months later, we were married. 6 or 7. Yeah. Now I'm not sure. I know that I didn't have the overt thought. Oh, I should marry her quickly so that she doesn't realize how bad of a drunk I am. But
Right.
all I know is that we went fast, and that was okay with me.
Yeah. And you
Um,
don't think it was that thought, like, oh, I better lock her in before she realizes I'm a shit show?
I don't think so. I think I knew that I wanted to be with her, and that was it. And I mean, legitimately, I think, and she had some family coming in from out of town, you know,
Hmm.
on that weekend, the 4th of July weekend. She was like, we could do it then, or we're gonna have to wait till next year. And I was like, you know what, let's do it. Why not? And she went for it. After about 9 months of marriage, though, she, in March of 2000, she said, Dave, you are way bigger of a drunk then I realized, um, so you got to get help. This is bullshit, right? Which it was. So
Right.
she, at the time, I was doing my little music school, kind of in the basement of this place that I worked at in this music store, and the owner of the store was in recovery, and so he said, "Hey, they come to me to our meetings, our
Mhm.
12-step meetings," and I said, "Okay." Off I went, and when I went to this little program, um, I saw a couple of things that I really liked and a couple of things I didn't like. I saw a couple of things that were, in my mind, attractive. I saw some old timers who had recovery. They weren't drinking. I liked that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I didn't like is that they weren't drinking.
Right.
Yeah, didn't like that. Right.
Right. It's nice that they're not drinking, but it also is not nice that you have to not drink.
Exactly. It was like I would like to just be able to moderate my drinking, right?
Right.
Or more to the point, I wanted to be able to drink and not have any of the negative consequences. That's what I really wanted.
Well, I always like to say, if I could moderate drinking, I would moderate it all the time. You know, like I would drink moderately as often as I could.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, moderation would mean that every once in a while, to be in balance, you have to be way out of balance, right?
Right.
So that's I'm already thinking of loopholes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I like that. I like that they were drinking. I also hated it, but I also liked that they had a connection to a higher power that was completely not tied to any kind of dogma. You know,
Yeah.
they were trying to listen to God's guidance, whatever their God was. I liked that a lot because that was part of my faith when I was growing up. Oh, you have the gift of the Holy Ghost. Use it, and God will guide you through your day. You know, and I liked that idea. And ever since I had abandoned the faith 10 years earlier, I just thought God and the LDS Church were the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't have the one, I don't have the other. And so when all of a sudden I saw these people being guided by God,
Right.
I thought, wait a second, how but they're not paying tithing, they're not they're drinking coffee and smoking and cussing, and they still have a connection with God. I loved that.
Yeah.
Now, about that same time, by the way, I didn't work the steps. I just kind of came to meetings, and that was it. Which, by the way, remind me later, I have a good metaphor for people who come to meetings and don't work the steps.
Okay.
Or would you like me to do it now?
No, let's just do it now. Let's hear it.
So, not too long ago, I was on Facebook, and somebody's like, they put these things about how Dave and Ty's 12-step program doesn't work. Particularly, they were picking on our particular fellowship, right?
Well, those bastards.
And, yeah, the cocksuckers. So, they okay, fine. So the statistics are about 5%, right?
Right.
And my contention is this: most people come to meetings and they don't work the steps. That's like going to the gym and expecting to get healthy because you're going to the gym, but you're not actually doing the exercises, right?
Yeah.
And I would bet that about 5% of people who go to the gym and don't work out actually do probably get healthier because they're around all the hard bodies. You know, they're like, oh, I should eat better. I should do this. And they might get better, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you want the results, you have to do the work.
Right.
So that's my metaphor, because so far I've walked, I don't know, like last time I counted, I think it was 17 people through the steps. And of those 17, about 14, I think, have stayed sober.
That's crazy.
Well, that's about a 75, if I'm not mistaken in my math, about a 75% average.
That's good.
And and that's in our book. That's what it says they had at the beginning of the program, because I'm a real fanatic for sticking to the book. There are things that I do that aren't in the book. I make my sponsees do like a gratitude. I don't make them, but I encourage them to do a gratitude list first thing in the morning, etc. There are some things that aren't in the book, but most of the stuff, man, we're working the steps. It's not some foo-foo bullshit from outside. It's taken from the book.
Right. And man, I really like that metaphor.
Well,
I might steal that.
Steal away.
But I will obviously give you credit every time I do.
And 10 cents.
Right. I'll send it to you. Canadian 10 cents. So it's about, I think, 6 cents your money.
Damn it.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, it's the best I can do with what I have.
Anyway,
But
that's my metaphor. But I was one of those guys.
yeah.
I came into, what's that?
Oh, I always use the bed metaphor, and it's not as good as yours, but I would always say, it's like if you just go to meetings, it's like you're sleeping on the edge of the mattress. There's a good chance you're going to roll out of the mattress. Yeah. But if you jump right into the middle of the mattress, if you do everything that the program offers, you're safe. You're gonna sleep well. Yeah. But man, your gym one blows the shit out of that one.
It's a metaphor war.
Yeah. Well, and yours won hands down, handedly.
Awesome.
Yeah. Good job.
So anyway, I went to meetings. Hey, is there a little echo? Can you hear that?
I can't hear it. No.
Okay, good. Okay. As long as it's not on your end, that's fine.
Yeah.
So about 6 months, I was also going to counseling. My friend you should totally get with Dr. Brad. Dr. Brad will help you. Okay. So I went to Dr. Brad and we talked, and at about 6 months, I remember coming home to Midge after meetings, and I would say, I'm not like all those old dudes. They've been to jail, they've lost houses and wives and jobs and shit like that. I'm just not like those people. But here's another metaphor. I also didn't realize that, I wasn't like them, because right now, if I had stage 1 cancer, I'm not like the people who have stage 4 cancer. Right. If I go into the hospital and see the stage 4 people, I'd be like, I'm not like these people at all.
Right.
Well, yeah, I'm not, because I don't have the same. It hasn't progressed that far yet.
Yeah.
But I said that to my wife. I was like, I'm not like these people.
And you're a big proponent of that word "yet."
Absolutely.
I remember that when we used to go to the same meeting house, and you had it put above the door with the word "yet."
Yep.
And I really like that.
Could you? I have a story for that one too. Yeah. You want to hear that story? Pretty cool story. So I was getting ready for a gig in Las Vegas, and this is about 9 months. No, not even that. About 7 months sober. And about just a few days before the gig, I had this dream, because in the summer before I got sober, I went to Vegas and I almost died. I was walking super drunk across the freeway, right?
Whoa.
Just to go chase more of what I was chasing. And it was a horrible experience. And I very easily could have died. Yeah. I didn't, luckily, but luckily for me anyway. So anyway, that I had a drinking dream that I was in Vegas, I was playing the gig, and there were little servers walking around with the trays full of drinks, like they do.
Mm-hmm.
And in my dream, I just reached out and picked up one of the drinks and chugged it. And then that sent me off on a runner. And the next thing you know, in the dream, I watched my wife come identify my body.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So not a fun dream to have.
Yeah, not at all.
I'm on edge anyway, going down to Vegas. Right.
Right.
So I show up, and the client was a real particular, was a corporate client. And they said the company president was going to do this big speech. And the minute he said, so enjoy Vegas, we were supposed to start playing. And they'd given us all wireless units. So the drums even were all on wirelesses. And so they would push the drums. They had them on wheels. They would wheel us all out to I could walk because I'm on bass, right?
Right.
But we were supposed to walk out and immediately start playing, right?
Right.
So he's reading the script and teleprompter showing stuff. Then, and there was this guy with a clipboard, right? And so they're like 5 minutes, 2 minutes, right? And I looked out into the audience, and dude, it was the exact same thing from my dream. Everything was similar. The servers, the room. To be fair, all those rooms, those big conference rooms, they all look the same anyway.
Yeah,
right?
right.
Empty space. Anyway, so it freaked me out. I was like, oh shit, this is the room. Oh God, what do I do? Right. So we had 2 minutes. So I reached for my phone, and there was no signal because it was down in the kind of the basement, in the bowels of the building. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I said a little prayer. I was like, okay, God, you're gonna have to help me, dude, because it's just you and me. So, but I can do this, right? And I pumped myself up, and I was like, come on, God, you got it. You got to help me. And I got kind of a good feeling, and I was like, okay, I can do this. And then, oh, hang on a sec. Hello, good morning. Sammy, get up?
Yes.
Did you knock on his door?
Yes.
Everyone in podcast land, this is my son, Charlie.
Hey, Charlie.
Charlie. Charlie has a great smile, and he's a good kid.
Yeah, Charlie, I remember him. He's real sweet.
He is. He has autism pretty severely, but he's getting better and better. So it's good.
Well, from what I even just heard from the last time I saw him to there, it's leaps and bounds.
Oh, dude, yeah. Yesterday I was working with a sponsee, and he came down the stairs and he just sat with me for a minute and on my lap, and he got up to go, and I said, where are you going? To wake up Mama. That was a full-on sentence.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I have a story about that too. Well, anyway, so yeah, I'm starting to freak out. It's like, oh crap! But I just said this other little prayer. I was like, okay, God, you and me, we're gonna do this. But if it's possible, I would love to have another alcoholic to talk to, just to get solid. Guy with the clipboard says 30 seconds, and I thought, okay, well, okay, you and me, dude, we got this. And then all of a sudden, the clipboard dude says, hold on. He's on one of those headsets, right?
Yeah.
Hang on. And then I started listening to the actual speaker dude, and the president of the company says, oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen, Loic is here, or whatever his name was. He's all the way from France. He's our senior executive officer. Come here, Loic, talk to the people, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, Loic gets up there, and the guy with the clipboard says, you know what, hold. Who knows how long this guy's gonna go on. Oh, okay. So I took off my bass for a second and put it in its stand and got out my laptop, which had the the sticker on it of my fellowship. And the dude with the clipboard says, holy crap. And of that guy who started your program? I said, yeah, are you? And he says, I have been for 27 years, yeah.
Oh, that's so
said,
cool.
well, holy shit. And he goes, you all right? And I said, well, I had a dream. And I said, I don't know. And I didn't get a meeting today. And he said, well, you're getting one now. Let's have a meeting. So he and I full on had a meeting together, the two of us, waiting for that fucking French guy to do his thing. It was awesome. It was just awesome. And he's the one who told me the Yet story, because he had a fairly high bottom.
Uh-huh.
He didn't go through all these wretched things. And he said that he thought about it. He was talking to some old timer, and he said, I'm just not like you people. And then the old timer said, it's just a matter of yet. So if you ever hear somebody saying, oh, well, I went to jail, or I sold the nuclear launch codes, or whatever it is, and that hasn't happened to you, just say yet.
Yeah.
So that's why, for Father's Day, my wife got those 3 letters, and we put them up over the door. Because the Yets are all out there. They're all waiting outside that door.
Right.
If you want them.
Yep.
Anyway, that's my Yet story.
Yep. Well, when I first got into the rooms, I did the exact same thing. I was like, oh, this isn't for me. I don't have these problems, And I went back out and I got them. I got all those problems. And I distinctly remember that. I distinctly remember saying to myself, oh, this isn't for me. And then the next time I came around, I'm like, oh, there it is. Have all those problems now. Good.
Yep.
This is way better than I thought it was going to be, with all these fucking problems I have now. It's
sure.
But
major upgrade.
Let's get to your bottom so we can get to the recovery, because we keep jumping into the recovery stuff, which I love, but I just keep wondering, now how did Dave get down there?
So here comes the bottom. So I'm going to for 6 months, going to meetings, not doing anything about it. And I'm also going to psychotherapy with this guy, Dr. Brad. And one day, Dr. Brad says this. I'm going to see if I can talk like Dr. Brad. Dave, really what's going on here is that we've worked out the trauma of your childhood. Do you feel like that? I said, well, yeah, Dr. Brad. I feel good. My dad was too rough on me. So what? He said, well, Dave, I've been thinking about it a lot. And I know you're going to those meetings that you go to for drunk people. And I just want you to think about something. I don't think you're an alcoholic. And I said, what? Yeah, I don't think you're an alcoholic, Dave. I think that you drink because you have pain. You're kind of like a man who has an arrow in his leg. And because there's an arrow in his leg, he's in pain. And because he's in pain, he drinks to cover up the pain of the arrow. But now that we've worked through your trauma of your childhood, and now that from your fellowship you've gotten a God that you can relate to, I think you should be able to drink like a normal person. Okay, could you write that down on a note for me so I can show it to my wife?
Right.
I literally asked him for a note. And I don't remember if he gave it to me or not, but that's what I did.
And I'm not sure. I don't remember if that part, I know we talked about it, but I don't remember if it's on the part I can't use, or there's another piece of our story. We did another 30-minute section that I can't use because the microphone was bad or we did it wrong or something, but I can't remember if it was on that or if it's on the usable part. So we may have told that story twice on this podcast, but I think it's worth hearing twice.
All right, well, delete it if you need to.
No, we're going to play it twice. I like your...
What happened is I went on a business trip, and I thought, it's been 6 months. I should be able to drink like a normie. Dr. Brad says so. And by the way, I'm not sure that I was honest with him about the extent of my alcoholism. I don't know. But all I knew is I now had a good reason to go start drinking. And so I was in Dallas, Texas, and I had a flight the next morning. I was on a job out there. And I thought, well, maybe I'll just go to the bar and have a couple. And I did. I had a couple for me and a couple for that guy over there and a couple for that guy over there. I don't remember how much I drank, but all I know is I missed my flight the next day.
Right.
Because I got all lit up, and I drank for 8 more years.
Yeah. That's so crazy. So what did that 8 years look like?
The funny thing is, because again of my career, professionally there wasn't a lot of outside wreckage.
Right.
I'm a smart person, and I'm a very talented person with my job, and so and creative, and so I came up with different band ideas, and I'm a hard worker. But so outside it didn't look that different than anything else. But internally, I was hating myself more and more. I thought I would be able to stop once I had kids. I said that, by the way, about getting married. I said, once I get married, I bet I can stop, because I've always wanted to be a husband. I've always wanted to be a good husband, and I love this woman, Midge. So I will stop. It didn't stop me, but I thought once I have kids, then I'll stop, which we did. We had a kid, Sam, his name is. Yeah, Sammy's upstairs. He's still asleep. Do you want to go knock on his door? Go knock on his door. You hear that chatter?
Yeah.
He's talking full sentence to do.
It's so awesome.
Sammy, get up. Yeah, that's progress, man. I'll take it. I don't know what I was saying. Sorry.
We were talking about once you had kids, you had Sam, and you said you would stop.
Oh, that's right. We had, yeah, and I was sure that I would, but it didn't stop me. And here came Charlie, and it didn't stop me.
So let's talk. When you had Sam, did you try to stop drinking?
I absolutely did.
You did?
Yep. But then I realized, wait a second, why am I stopping? This is part of what makes me me. So that's just dumb. Besides, I'm much less frustrated if I have a few drinks in me.
Yeah.
I'm much more patient. I'm much more whatever, right? Just all the justifications.
Yeah.
It did change my perceptions on things, though. But even that wasn't strong enough to make me stop.
What do you...
In about 2005,
No, I was just gonna say, what do
Oh, I'm
you
sorry.
mean by when you change your perceptions?
It just changed the way I looked at everything.
Yeah.
Being a parent is, you know, you don't have any kids, right?
No, I don't. Huh?
Well, you can't describe it to somebody who doesn't have kids. They don't get it because, and that's not an insult. That's just
No.
there's a biological thing that happens where your whole life it shifts. It just shifts into the interest of this little person.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was probably the only time that since I started drinking that I was an unselfish person, at least in some ways.
Yeah. And then
However,
you went
that
back
didn't
to
stop me.
drinking. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I probably did quit for a few weeks. I don't know. I don't remember. Then Charlie was born 2 years later, and everything was golden. 2005 was not a good year. Charlie was showing signs of autism, which he has now. That wasn't great.
I'm sorry. I'm not super familiar with exactly. I know I've met Charlie and I know what his symptoms are, but what is autism exactly?
Well, I'm not an expert, but I'll try my best. It's a brain, I don't know if disorder maybe would be the right word, but it's a neurological kind of malfunction that makes it hard for people with autism to relate to social cues. Verbal speech is impacted a lot of times. There's very little eye contact. Basically, if they're not treated, they will, and it's an extreme form of it, they'll just withdraw, which is what Charlie did. He was starting to say, he was coming up on a year old, and he was starting to say mama and daddy and stuff. And all of a sudden one day he just started going away. He would point at stuff, he'd wanted a bottle or whatever, and then he just started kind of backtracking, and he stopped pointing and he stopped speaking. And what he would do if he wasn't happy, he would just scream, and we'd have to try to guess to figure out what was wrong. That was hard. And to watch your own kid go withdraw from you was, what I did about it? I drank. That would make me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
In about August of that year, our female babysitter came to us and said, I feel like I need to tell you guys this. I've been molesting your kids.
Whoa.
Yeah.
She just came to you?
Well, she had talked to her, what for LDS people, they call it a bishop, but it's like a pastor or a priest.
Right.
And she had gone to that church leader and, said, well, this is my sin. And the bishop was like, you got to go tell those people. Now, by the way, legally, he had a responsibility to also tell the police, which he did not do, and we had to call the cops, which we did.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had distaste and dislike for people before that, maybe even hatred.
Mm-hmm.
But I had never felt hatred for a person like I did for that gal. Her name was, well, I'll leave her name out of it.
Yeah.
I hated her. I hated her dad because her dad always gave me the creeps anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured he's the one who did it to her. So, I hate him too. And the mom was probably an enabler. So I hated her too. And at some point during a drunken fit, torn up with agony, I decided I was going to kill them all.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked out a knife. And I knew where I was going to, I cased their house. Dude, I was going to kill them.
Yeah.
And I would get drunk, and then I'd realize about 6, 10, 12, 15 drinks in that if I went over there drunk, I wouldn't be able to, I would probably be sloppy, and I would probably get caught, which kind of goes against the point of being there for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, never end up killing them. But
Right.
I was gonna. I hated them like I've never hated anybody else.
Yeah, I very similar experience. Not with the child molesting, but with somebody I wanted to kill, and legitimately, that was my happy thought.
Yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
when I would get really fucked up, I'd just think, okay, I'll kill him and this will be okay and it'll make the hurt go away. You know, and it'll bring some, I guess, closure to that wound.
Yeah.
So when she had molested both of your children,
Both of them. Charlie was not quite 1 and Sam was not quite 3.
and so you called the
Or
police.
maybe he was maybe 3, yeah. And they came over and we dealt with it. We took it to court and everything like that. And it was tough. That was tough.
And
And I just drank my way through it, which is even, I mean, if you think about it, not the best way to
no,
to respond, right? Because they needed me to be there for them. Instead, I'm all fucking lit up,
right.
you know.
Well, it gives you
But that's the only way I knew how to deal with shit. That's
right.
the only way I knew I could deal.
Well, and not to, you know, when I hear people say that, I think about my alcoholism and I think, oh, you know, that's a if you're playing a poker hand in your alcoholism, that's a royal flush to keep drinking.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's that.
Oh yeah, that's a great reason.
Yeah, because it's just like, oh, well, you know, fuck this world. Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had self pity anyway, but now I had a great reason.
right.
Anyway, so I kept drinking. Got a gig up in Salt Lake, where same kind of deal. I could convince the crowd to feed me drinks all night long. It was just escalating and escalating. I was, I fell prey to what a lot of people fall prey to when they're drinking. Um, and so there were a lot of behaviors of mine that were damaging my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
In 2008, I went to Vegas and almost died. I said, God, this is getting bad. I got to stop.
Mm-hmm.
I landed a major tour with a country person who'd had a ton of hits.
Mm-hmm.
And that was starting in September.
And this was part of your freelance bass playing?
Yeah, this was just, it wasn't any of the rest of my bandmates. It was just me going on a tour with this country guy. And it was going to start with a small tour, and then we were going to, you know, keep going from there. So we just had like a, I don't know, half a week or week tour or something like that. And I was driving back from Salt Lake once, and my wife and I were on the phone, and she said, look, this is in August of 2008. She said, look, you are not the man I married. You are an asshole, which is true. I was. And you're abusive. Now, I wasn't physically abusive or sexually abusive, but I sure was not the kind of supportive person that I should have been. And if people crossed me, I would get angry, you know, and I was abusive. So anyway, she said, I can't take this. And I said, give me one chance, one last chance. And so she did. And everything was okay for about 9 days. I stopped drinking, I detoxed, and I got on this tour. And I was walking to leave on this tour, convinced I was done with that drinking bullshit. I was going to get my stuff together. And I'm walking to in the tour, and I see these two people who would come to the bar all the time and see us. And I never realized that they were at the bar, but they weren't drinking because they were in our program.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see them on the little people mover, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I jumped off the people mover. They did too. We chatted for a couple of minutes. And I guess I didn't, you know, obviously I was walking away from them. As we parted ways, they said, oh, he's close to his bottom. He is a wreck, which I thought I felt great. But I guess
9 days.
Yeah. So anyway, off I go on this tour, and I stayed sober for a couple of days on the tour. And then one night at the dinner afterwards, the star guy said, hey, I'm buying a beer if anybody wants one. And I thought, it's just one beer, right? What's it going to hurt?
Right.
And I had that one beer, and it triggered my allergy for craving more. And so I wanted more, but I couldn't because they were all pretty much teetotalers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one beer, no big deal. But they didn't want to see me go straight to the bar and start pounding shots. Right? So the next night I bought a bunch and got drunk and started all the shenanigans. Anyway, I got back into town, and I was drinking again. And trying to hide it from Midge. And she found some evidence of my shenanigans that I was participating in extracurricular from the marriage.
Right.
And she said, okay, that's it. We're done. And so we went on a walk together, and I had little Charlie with me. Charlie was about, let's see, I don't know. He was about 4 at the time. Hi, you. Hi, you. Hi. I put him on my shoulders, which he still likes to ride on my shoulders. And we went on this walk, and at some point I twisted around, and my back muscles just went into spasm and jacked up my back. So I said, I'm not going to drink anymore. This is BS. Especially I'm going to walk through this divorce. I need to be sober, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had never had a problem with pain pills up to that point. So I didn't drink. But what happened is I started taking pain pills because my back was jacked up, right? I mean, that's just medically necessary. And I was taking them as prescribed for me, even though it wasn't my prescription, and for that guy in the corner and for our neighbors. I just started swallowing pain pills. So anyway, it continued like that for a week or two. And then I had my bottom. Now, my bottom to a lot of people isn't comparable, but it is low enough for me. Thank you. I woke up one morning on October 6th and, in a pain pill haze the day before. I didn't have any in me now because I'd slept through the night. And it just became really obvious to me that I was, well, I'll tell you what happened. I don't like to share it a lot sometimes because it's to me, a sacred thing. But if it'll help somebody, I'm willing to do it. So I was watching the sunlight come through the door of our room, and I said to myself, this is what I've always wanted. I've always wanted to be with this woman in this house with these 2 little people that I love so much, my kids. I want this. And my negative voice said, you can't have this. You can't have this. She's going to insist that you don't drink, that you don't have any shenanigans, and you cannot not do that. I said, but I don't want to do that anymore. It's destroying me. It's destroying my family. I don't want it. And I had a vision right then. It was like I was watching a movie all of a sudden. And in that movie, I saw not an apartment, but a little trailer, like a mobile home trailer, filthy. And in the middle of the room of the trailer, there was somebody dead on the couch, surrounded by pill bottles and whiskey bottles. And then I saw that it was me. And I looked a little older, like maybe 5 years older than I was then. And I snapped out of it. I was like, what the hell was that? And it was just, I don't know if it was an actual voice or not, but it was like, I became clear, like, that's my future. That's what's going to happen to me if I keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, my disease was like, oh, come on, dude, but that's like 5 years. Why don't we can drink for like 4.5 more and then we'll quit.
Well, and it's like, now you know the end result, so you can avoid it.
Yeah, exactly. Just moderate, right? Anyway, it tried to trick me. And right then, these 2 little people that lived in my house came into my room, like Charlie just came in a minute ago. But they came and they laid down on the bed with us, and I heard a voice say, you can have what you saw, or you can choose death. It's up to you. No, I'm sorry. You can have what you saw, or you can choose this.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. I realized what was going to happen, and I realized I was going to lose everything. And that was it. I said, okay. But I I said, well, but I don't know. Let me start again. So Sam and Charlie came in. They lay down on my bed with me and with my wife. She was still in the same bed as me, which I have no idea why that was, but God bless her. And I just heard that voice say, look, you can have what you saw, or you can have this. And I started crying, I remember, and I said, but to the voice, I said, so I cannot not drink. I can't have this because I can't not drink.
Yeah.
And the voice said, "You know where to go? Throw yourself in their arms and they'll help you."
Mm-hmm.
So we got the boys off to school, and I called our, like, there's like the central kind of office for my fellowship in the phone book, and I called them, and the guy said, I started bawling. I was like, "I cannot do this," and he goes, "Yeah, I know, I couldn't either, but now I have 17 years or whatever it was at the time." He said, "So you can do this. You just gotta lean on us for help, and we will point you to your God, and your God will fight the battle for you."
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "Okay," and so off I went to. I walked into my room. I shut the door, and I threw myself on my knees. And for the first time in a long time, I said a prayer, and I just said, "Okay, I don't know what you are. I think you're there, but please help me. I don't want to die, and I don't want to die.
Right.
I don't want to hurt my kids. I don't want to hurt my wife anymore. Please help me. I can't do this."
Yeah.
And so I started going to meetings. I went that night, and I went for 600 days after that. I didn't miss a meeting on day 600. I finally missed a meeting. 599 days in a row of a meeting.
Really?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Well, I heard this old timer, wonderful old timer guy named, we called Grandpa Don, and he said 90 and 90 is great. So why not do 100 and 100 or 300 and 300? And I said, well, in my fellowship's book, it says, if you're ready to go at any length to get it, when meaning sobriety. I said, well, shit, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go to any length. So off I went. I thought, well, it works. If I keep doing the same stuff, I'll keep getting the same result, which is recovery. So why would I not do this?
Right.
So that's what I did. Anyway, I started working the steps. I got a sponsor. He was not the best sponsor. I can't complain because for what I was paying him, he did a great job. But he was also the kind of sponsor who was really detached, wouldn't pick up his phone most of the time. And he would really, the first, I think, 3 steps, we sat and read the book together, which was awesome, which was what I do with sponsees now. But when it came to the 4th step, he just said, "Hey, you know what? It's on the web. Go find it on the web. It's fine." Right? So that's how, all of a sudden, I'm trying to work my 4th step with no guidance whatsoever, doing these freaking worksheets that are on the internet, which are maybe valid information. But so I stopped even calling him because it was just ridiculous.
Yeah. Hey, Dave. Sorry, I gotta pee real bad.
Okay. Hey, my phone just told me that it's running out of battery, so maybe I'll go upstairs and plug it in too.
Okay. All right. I'll just put this. I'm just gonna leave it on, or should we end the call?
No. I'll leave it on.
Okay.
Yeah. Go up. I have a little battery charger thingy.
Okay. I'll be right back.
Do we wake up Sammy? Yeah. Yes. Hey, did you have a good night's sleep, buddy? You did? Okay. What did you have any dreams or anything? Uh-oh. Did you go wake up Mama? 2 mamas awake. Mm-hmm. Hey, Sammy Wham. Time to get up, my friend. How'd you sleep? Oof. Yeah. The only thing that'll make that better are foot tickles. Or tickles. How did you sleep, Midgie? Good. I'm still doing the podcast. Well, Ty's using the bathroom. Hey, there's some young person in my side of the. Can I open this? Okay. Charlie says, It is blustery. Oh, I like that, by the way. That's cute.
Okay, I'm back.
Hello to you. Hello.
Hello, Moto. So what were we talking about? Okay, so you had decided to do the 600 and 600, and
Yeah.
you were jumping into the program.
Hang on. What was that?
You were doing the 600 and 600 and jumping into the program.
Yeah, which I did. Like I said, that sponsor at the time pointed me towards the internet to work my fourth step. Not the best thing. So I also heard though some speaker tapes, but they're online, of these old timers named Joe and Charlie, and they have a study of my program's book that they do, and they walk people through the fourth step really well on that thing. So basically, sometimes people say, "Well, who are your sponsors?" I'll say, "Well, there was this guy, I don't know, Ronaldo, and then there was this guy. Oh, then I said, and then Joe and Charlie," because I almost feel like they did sponsor me because I started doing the fourth step through them. I did the fifth step with this little guy, Grandpa Don, little Korean War veteran, was awesome guy. He got diagnosed with cancer, and so he didn't. Sorry, phone. He was like, I can't sponsor you, Dave, because I'm sick. I'm going to be doing chemo and stuff like that. So I did the fifth step and then started looking for a new sponsor. Anyway, I think one thing led to another ultimately, and I don't think my phone's started. Okay. I just kept going to meetings and working the steps the best I could as I understood them. About 9 months into the program, I got some bad news. It was worse news for my wife. She was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
Oh.
Yeah.
What causes Parkinson's? Sorry, I don't know if I'm asking you all these technical questions, but yeah, I just don't know.
Well, I'm not sure actually, but I can tell you what my understanding is. It's actually, I don't even know. I don't know what causes it. I don't know that I've ever asked, to be honest. It doesn't matter for me. You know, it's here, so you just got to deal with it.
Right.
Now, how did I deal with it is the question. I'll tell you exactly what I did because I wrote it in the back of my my large book. And then I stopped because I was like, wow, because my program teaches me that when you're in fear, you write these two columns.
Mm-hmm.
Column one is what you're afraid of, and then the second column is why do you have that fear. So I wrote, I'm afraid of Midge's Parkinson's disease. I went to the second column, which says why do you have it. Well, it turns out that I have that fear because there are a lot of other fears underneath it. I was afraid of her Parkinson's disease. Why? Well, I was afraid what it would do, what it would mean for our future, what it would mean for her, what would it mean for me. I mean, I'm selfish at my core, so like, oh no, is that mean I'm going to have to work more? You know what I mean? So I would take all those fears in the right column and move them over the left column. Why am I afraid of this? Well, and so finally, when I got down to it, it boils down to one thing. If I'm in fear, it's because I'm not trusting that my higher power is going to work shit out. And when I say work it out, I mean work it out in the sense of it's going to go exactly the way I want. No, I mean it's going to work it out as in I can walk through anything, if my higher power and I are connected.
Right.
Things may not go the way that I want them to. You know, Parkinson's has progressed in the last 7 years, of course. But I've been able to walk through it, and so is she. So I was a step Nazi, and I still am, because the steps are to me where the core of it is. So I had that resentment, that one resentment that, I mean, I had other resentments too. You know, this guy Rob kick me in the balls when I was 8. People who drive those big jacked up 4-wheel drive trucks, I call them Bubba trucks.
Yeah.
They were on my 4th step inventory for my resentment. Hate those guys.
Really?
Right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because of all the wrongs they've done to me, I guess. I don't know what the hell. But it was on my list. Actually, funny thing, my 4th step was on my 4th step. I was like, I hate this fucking inventory so much that I put my resentment down against the 4th step in my resentments.
I'm pretty sure I put my sponsor on my 4th step.
Yeah, that's funny. So, anyway, yeah, that's how I did it. That's how I dealt with it. Back in the old days, I would have drank myself stupid over that. But you know what I didn't do? I didn't drink.
Yeah.
Instead, all of a sudden, I was able to come at it once I processed that stuff, and I was able to give it over to my higher power. It says in my book, at once we commence to outgrow our fears if we do that process of writing it all out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And sure enough, I was able to go into it with a bit of a healthiness that I wasn't used to, by the way.
Yeah.
I was able to go into it and say, wow, my wife, what can I do to help her? Yeah. She was so awesome to me. Matter of fact, the thought came to me that said, look, you've been sick for a long time and she took care of you. Now it's your turn to take care of her.
Right.
And I can't say that I've been perfect in being 100% patient all the time. And just, I'm like Florence Nightingale or something. But I know that I've handled this in a way that wouldn't have been like me in the past, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you look at it like kind of like an amends process or?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep. I mean, it's not overt. It's like, oh, if she's not feeling well, like yesterday she wasn't feeling well. I don't say, oh, here's my chance to make amends.
Yeah. Right. Right.
No, but she's sick. And so she's very literally sick.
Right.
So yeah, it's my job to help her. She helped me. My job to help her. In the past, though, I probably would have used that as a great excuse to go running around.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's when I look at your life, you have a lot of reasons to go drink. You know what I'm saying? Like what we were talking about with the royal flush, and I absolutely look up to you for being able to work a program through it and recognize that that's what you need to get through that.
Yeah.
How has it helped you deal with, how has the program helped you deal with that sort of stuff?
Well, I've worked, the 12th step of my program says, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. The result of the steps is a spiritual awakening, a spiritual connection with a creator, whatever that creator is. Wiggy, I think I told you the other day, right?
Yeah.
Whatever God is, right? And that includes guidance. I mean, it's obvious if I can't manage my own life, something has to manage it for me, which is what my 3rd step prayer consists of. In my book, it says, God, I offer myself to thee to manage me, or it says to do with me as thou wilt, or some kind of fancy shit.
Yeah, to build and to do with me as thou wilt.
As thou wilt. And it says, though, a couple of paragraphs later, the wording doesn't matter as long as you express the idea. And so my 3rd step prayer, I said it this morning, sounds a little, my process is this. I wake up and I say, okay, God, whatever you are, check it out. I'm grateful for, and I make a list of at least 14 things that I'm grateful for.
Why 14?
I don't know. It's just a random ass number that I picked. I mean, literally 8 years ago, I picked it and I said, well, I think I was going to do 12, 12 steps or whatever. And I kept going, and every day it was right around 15 when I'd stop. And so I think because the 15th thing that I asked for that I'm grateful for rather, is for yesterday's sobriety.
Yeah.
So, for example, this morning, I was grateful for indoor plumbing. I went to the bathroom in the middle of the night. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I don't have to walk out to some damn outhouse, right?
I get caught up on plumbing too. Isn't that funny? I really get, I'm so grateful I don't have to deal with shit.
Yeah.
You know,
It just, you hit this lever and it goes away. Isn't that great?
yeah, it's literally what I just want, like literally and figuratively, I just want shit to go away. You know?
Yeah.
And that's always been my problem, I guess. But at least with plumbing, that's acceptable. I don't have to deal with the shit in my life in that way.
That's
But
funny.
yeah, I really do. I really get caught up in being grateful for plumbing.
Well, think about this, dude. A year ago, I was in Ecuador. My wife turned 50, and so Sam and she and I went down to Ecuador. And there were people that have to literally walk, I don't know, half a mile, maybe more, to a little river, which is polluted, by the way. And then they have to bring the water home in these barrels, and then they boil it to get rid of the pollutants, And I thought, wow, I walk up to the sink, hit the faucet, and clean drinking water comes out,
Yeah.
So I'm grateful. I try to make a different list every day. I don't write it down. I just make it talk to my God and say thanks. And then I say thanks for yesterday's sobriety. In this case, for me, it was 29:34 yesterday. So today I'm working on 29:35.
Killing it.
Yeah, well, to hell with yesterday.
Yeah.
What about today? And so that's what I said. Like, look, God, I'm powerless over alcohol. I'm grateful that you helped me yesterday, but now I need help today because I'm powerless over alcohol. My life is unmanageable. I'm powerless. So if I can't manage my own life, I mean, you, God, have made it obvious that you've restored me enough to sanity to see that I'm powerless and that what one drink will do to me. But my life's unmanageable. Matter of fact, not only when it comes to alcohol, just in general, I can't really do a very good job of managing my life. If you and I partner up, then I'm pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So I offer you myself to manage me as you please. Relieve me of the bondage of self. And then I list I kind of combine step 3 and step 7 because they're kind of the same thing. Relieve me of the bondage of self are all the character defects that I've found myself in.
Right.
Selfishness, self-seeking, dishonesty, fear, inconsiderateness. So like this morning, I said, okay, so I want to be honest. I want to be unselfish. I want to, instead of self-seeking, instead of seeking my will, I want to seek your will. You tell me what to do and I'll do it. Help me to be considerate. So anyway, that's what I did this morning. That's what I do most mornings. And then I say, it's kind of the end of the 7th step prayer. It says, take away any character defect away that stands in the way of usefulness to you and my fellow, you and my siblings down here.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I do what in our program is laid out as the 11th step. Basically, we think about my day, asking God to help my thought process not be selfish or dishonest as I plan my day. And then I ask God to show me through the day what the next right thing to do is and how to help people.
Mm-hmm.
See, here's the thing that I've come up with. I had a hard time saying, why didn't God stop that lady from molesting my kids? Why would God give my wife Parkinson's? Why would God give my wife cancer? At least that's how I used to think. Now, this is me. This is not my program. This is just my take on my Creator.
Right.
I don't think that my God, my understanding, God doesn't intervene on a physical way on the planet. And this is just, again, my take. In other words, if I put my car on the railroad tracks and there's a train coming, God's not going to lift out a big hand, a gigantic Monty Python hand, and go clink and remove it. Right? I think so. Yeah. I think the universe has a flow to it that is a preferred way. I'm kind of a Taoist, and there's a preferred way for things to flow. But I can absolutely exercise my free will and go against the flow if I choose to.
Yeah.
But here's what I think happens. In a non-physical way, in a spiritual way, God inspires us, the other kids down here on the planet, to help each other. So let's say you and I are driving along, you're driving along in your car, and I'm driving along in mine. And I got this little nudge, a God thought that comes in and says, hey, Dave, you should totally get some gas. I'm like, fuck you, God thought, what do you know, right? And so off I go, and I take that left like I always do to get home. and there are the railroad tracks, and all of a sudden, because I didn't get gas, I'm out of gas, and my car stops. Sure enough, stops short on the railroad tracks. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think God's going to lift my car off. I just don't, because I'm the one who chose to ignore the advice. Right. I have the free will to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I do think will happen, though, is I think God might reach out to you and say, hey, Ty, you should go left here. And you're like, what, go left? Why would I want to go left? You know what? I will go left. Thanks, God. And then there you see a car on the railroad tracks, and you're like, holy shit, that guy's going to die. There's a train coming. And so you can go up and bounce my car off the tracks.
Yeah, no, I totally.
I think God uses us as tools to achieve its will.
Yeah, what
if we're listening. Right. And so that's why in the morning I say, manage me, be my manager. We've all had managers at work, right? The definition of a manager is somebody who communicates the business ideal to the employee, and the employee does what they say.
Yeah.
Right. So at least that's my take.
I like it. I think that's a very interesting aspect of it. And it definitely, a lot of problems I have deal with accepting situations as they are. And that mindset, helps with that acceptance. It helps deal with the idea of, God isn't going to change this, but, he could change, the people involved in it, as far as like my attitudes or those sorts of things. And then listening to the God nudges and those things. I really do appreciate what you had to say about that.
Yeah.
How did
I do believe that God will go ahead.
Oh, I was going to send it in a different direction if you want to continue.
Okay. Oh, just one last thing. I have felt God's influence and impact in a non-physical way. I've felt God's guidance and comfort and strength and love. Those 4 things I've felt, but those are not physical things.
Uh-huh.
So those things, absolutely, I can get into acceptance, because when I go to God and say, look, I can't accept this. This is bullshit. But I put myself in the position of saying, but I need your comfort, God. I need your guidance how to get through this. And I get it. When I was upset about my wife getting diagnosed, remember how I always said to my dad, when my dad and mom died, man, I'm drinking myself dead.
Right.
Well, turns out back in 2014, my dad did die.
Yeah.
Finally, after 20 years of running from cancer. And you know what I didn't do? I didn't get drunk over it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was able to go to my God and literally throw myself at its feet, metaphorically, I guess, not literally. But I just threw myself into it. I can't make it through this. I can't handle this pain.
Right.
Gotta help me. And I got help. I also got help from people. Your sponsor, as a matter of fact, and a guy named, well, I don't have to say his name, but his buddy rhymes with skate. Mort and Skate came to my house and they took me out to lunch.
Mort and Skate. Well, I think both of them are coming on the podcast eventually, so
yeah.
Well, I'll tell them that. I'll call them that maybe if they don't want it.
Don't think he calls a lot. Your sponsor doesn't. I'm definitely gonna call him Mort when he calls today, if he calls today. But
yeah, good old Mort.
Hey, Mort. Anyway, but I walked through that because I got comfort from God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think God gave Mort and Skate the idea that, hey, let's go take him to lunch. There's this lady named Bailey, and she came and made us dinner that night that my dad died. I think people are, we're here to help each other.
Uh-huh.
And I can almost always tell, you could take it too far, obviously, but God thoughts excuse me, tend to be involved with me helping other people.
Yeah. And how?
Sometimes it'll be thoughts about me, but most of the time it's how to help other people.
Yeah. This might seem like a silly question, but how do you get to a point where you are willing to help people? When I first got into the rooms, I really struggled with the idea of being of service to others. I was selfish with my time, selfish with just in nature. And how were you able to find a willingness to be of service to other people?
I don't know. I've always been a people person,
Really?
and I think I was so grateful to be just alive.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. By the way, it might be that I came into the rooms and I heard the reading that says, "Rarely have we seen a person fail that thoroughly follows our path." And I said, "Well, shit, I better thoroughly follow this path
Right.
because I don't want to fail."
Yeah.
People who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program.
Yeah.
I said, well, shit, I better completely give myself to it, and that includes service.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm what they call a retread. If you're not familiar with that term, it means somebody who's worked their steps, gone back out. And I did that. But the one aspect I wasn't willing to do, like I was just saying earlier, was the service. And so when I came back in, I said, okay, I need to do all of it. And so I got into service and I've been able to stay sober. But I was just curious as to your path to finding service, because for me, that was the hardest part of recovery, was being willing to be of service.
No, I just kind of dug in. I've always been pretty empathetic. I would, or whatever they call it, an empath or whatever. I hate seeing human suffering. Hi, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would see people obviously in the rooms that were just hurting even more than I was. And I wanted to help them.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, that took on a dark side when I was in my disease. I'd be like, oh, let me be in more pain, right?
You're right. Yeah.
But in recovery, I'm able to just be, I hope anyway, a source of comfort and strength. And I help people a lot, not just sponsees, but if I see somebody in a room that's hurting, I listen for a God thought, and if the God thought says, go talk to them, then I'll make them laugh, and I'll make them, I hope anyway, make them laugh and comfort them somehow.
Well, and I think that's another side of it for me, was when I think of help, I think of it more as like, I need to go help that person move. But really,
right.
It's more like just talking to people is being helpful, listening, being honest, being, trustworthy. Those are helpful things to other people, knowing that they can rely on you to be there for them.
Yeah.
And that was a kind of one of those God aha moments I had, is not everything is like a physical help. Sometimes it's a, emotional help. You're as someone there to lean on.
I think more often than not, that's really what people need.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree.
They just need a kind person to say, okay, hey, look, even if you just need me to sit here with you and not say anything, but you just need the company, I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need me to hold your hand? I'll hold your hand. You need me to give you a hug? I'll hug you.
Mm-hmm.
You need me to just, make you laugh for a little bit? You and I have that gift of comedy. Well, let me make you laugh for a little bit.
Yeah. So this is,
can't tell you how many times I've gone to the hospital with a ukulele, and I suck at the uke, right? But it's really fucking funny how much I suck. And so I'll go into the hospital and crack jokes and play the ukulele and a little sunshine to that person for that moment.
Yeah. How were you able to deal with the resentment of your children's abuser?
Well, that's a good question. So I hated her with, as Joe and Charlie would say, a purple passion. And she was obviously on my first fourth step, and it still was there. It went away, but as soon as they showed signs of the abuse, what they call anniversary dates, people who are abused a lot of times have stress at that time of year, like a year later.
I didn't know that.
As to when the abuse happened. At least that's what our therapist told. And sure enough, man, they would regress. For example, they would potty training would regress and stuff like that. So I would instantly bring back the resentment, and I would have to write it out. And I don't know how many times I had to put that gal's name on my fourth step. I don't know. Little miniature fourth steps. Step 10 is basically steps 4 through 9 on a miniature 4 through 9 on a daily basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
but it would come up and I would hate her and I would get just angry and I'd want to go fucking kill her again.
Right.
And I got finally when I was about a year sober, I got the sponsor that I have now and I've had for 7 years. And he'd say, okay, guess you're gonna have to write it out again. And I would. I wish I could tell you exactly how many times it was that I had to write her out. I don't know. I don't know how many times it was. But at some point, I was surprised because I read this article online about some dude back in, I think, Chicago. It was Chicago. Who had, like in the movie Taken, he'd abduct these people, get them strung out on heroin, and then he would use them as sex slaves, right, to sell off to people in the streets. And so I read about this, and they had busted the guy, and it was this big deal. And I just found myself saying a little prayer. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, whatever energy, God, that I have right now that's spare, that I can spare, please send to those women so they can find the rooms and they can get help.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I don't really know anybody in Chicago, but and then I thought, oh no, yes I do. That's where the babysitter is. They moved out of the state of Utah off to Chicago. And I said, and I found myself saying this little prayer for her. I said, okay, you know what? Oh yeah. No, I don't know. Let's call her Helga. That's not her name. Helga's out there. You know what, God? Please send her love and whatever strength I have right now, please send to her if she's in that situation. And then I said, wait, even if she's not, she was a sick person, God. She was just doing what sick people do. I don't like her symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
But please send her whatever energy I have to get her well, not just to help that she doesn't hurt other kids, but just so she has a decent life.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. What am I talking about? I hate her. And I realized I didn't hate her anymore.
Yeah.
Instead, I was hoping she would get well. See, there's a part of that fourth step that a lot of people skip. If they do their fourth step at all, they do the first 3 columns. I'm angry at Helga. Why abused my kids? What does that affect? Well, all personal relations, sexual relations, self-esteem, ambitions, and financial security. Right?
Yeah.
And then they immediately go charging to the 4th column, which is where were we selfish, self-seeking, dishonest, or afraid?
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. That's what we're supposed to do. But there are 3 little paragraphs in there between those 2 parts that talk about the most healing part of the 4th step, at least in my opinion. It can be, which is, it says, this was our course. And I'm not going to be quoting, but I'm paraphrasing, but I'm going to get pretty close because I've read it a million times. This was our course. We realized that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick. Though we don't like their symptoms and the way they affect us, they, like ourselves, were sick too. So when Charlie got sick, I don't know, a long time ago, Midge was out of town. I was being a good dad and said, go off, have your girls' weekend out. And she did. And then Charlie got sick. And it was coming out from both ends. I didn't like the symptoms of diarrhea. I didn't like the symptom of vomit. But he was just sick, and he was doing what sick people do.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, this gal was sick, spiritually sick. And she had some symptoms. And unfortunately, those symptoms hurt my kids.
Yeah.
Now, I never molested anybody. I never slept with anybody that wasn't a willing participant. At least even maybe they were willing because of money, but still. I never did that.
Right.
But in my own way, I was sure as hell sick in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I had different symptoms, but my core sickness was still, I was broken inside. And so if you can do that and say the little prayer that's in there, which is, God, help me show this person the same tolerance, pity, and patience that I would cheerfully grant a sick friend.
Yeah.
I have my sponsees do that for every person on their list. So if they say, I'm angry at Jake, why? The cause is he stole my wallet. Okay. Then I have them say to themselves, now what kind of person steals another person's wallet, especially when they're your friend? A healthy person? Well, no, that's a sick fucker. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you say that little prayer for them. And I don't know, then when you go into that 4th and 5th column, it makes, you go at it with a little bit of mercy and pity for the person that you're talking about.
Well, and
Maybe they're not
understanding, right?
exactly, precisely,
Yeah.
empathy. Because just like you, they're sick, but they were maybe different symptoms of the sickness,
Mhm.
but they were sick too.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Oh, 100%.
So I have my sponsees say that little prayer for every single person. Sometimes every act that the person did to piss them off in the first place. Okay, so what kind of person steals a wallet? What kind of person sleeps with your wife? What kind of person, slams the door in your face? Whatever it might be,
Yeah. Well, and I think when I hear that, because I do the same thing with my sponsees as far as, this person's sick, when they come to me with a resentment. And I think the big problem people have with understanding that is that word sick, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
it's like, it's hard to think of theft as a sickness, but you have to think of it more as like a spiritual sickness, because there's something wrong inside of your spirit to allow you to steal. Because I was a big thief when I was, and there's something wrong. There was definitely something wrong inside me where I was okay with it. And it's, I think it's just the wording that throws people off. But I do like to explain that part of the book. I think it's important to recognize that your soul or whatever it is can have a flaw or a sickness that allows you to do things, and you have to be understanding of that.
Well, you and I did sick shit, and now we're not.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So clearly, it wasn't the actual us that was flawed.
Right.
It was just like, well, Charlie, right? I'm looking at him right now. He's not having diarrhea or vomiting as I speak. He got sick.
Yeah.
And now he's better from that sickness.
Right. Right. Yeah. Just because they were sick that way that one time doesn't mean it's always that way. I see. So, yeah.
My headset just died.
Did it? Well, let's is there, I feel like we got pretty good stuff, right? We did almost 3 hours.
We take a pause for a minute?
Yeah, we can pause just for a sec if you want to try and get something adjusted.
For a little bit, it charges.
Okay. Just message me when you're done.
All right. Thanks, bud.
All right. Bye.